go. Oh, let me see. Instagram is always so dark. Okay. All right. So let me type in. What is this going to be? Um, Hi. Okay, okay. I have a request. Oh, where's my little pen that I could hit these things? Hi, y'all. Let's see. Okay. Now we're trying to welcome, welcome, welcome.
Oh, you got a little pin to hit it to make it easier.
Yes, 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 yes.
Smart. Smart. I think I have one of those around here somewhere.
Yeah,
How are you?
I am fine. Let me see me back this on up.
I know,
Mm,
right? I was like, I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm everything.
yes. Okay. So it looks like okay, I was freezing for a second. Let me know at any time if I am freezing.
Hey, sis. I don't know how to work this thing where people be waving back and stuff, but
You just hit the little hand thing at the bottom
I don't see
where the person.
that. Is that right? Is that
Okay,
right?
okay. Or maybe I'm the only one that can hit it since you're joining my live.
That is, it is all good.
Yeah, it's all good. Okay. So look, we are on time. Are you ready?
As ready as I'm ever be
I
for this.
know. Um, Again, if you can't hear me, just do like this. Because
Okay.
I don't know why it looks like I am it's like it's doing a light freezing or something.
It might
So
be a slow connection on your end because you look fine on my side.
okay, okay. That's
Um,
probably what it
to
is.
those in the comments or on the live, however you word it, is she freezing on you guys in?
Yeah, let me know if you can hear me. Put a one in the chat box if you can hear me fine. Because it looks like it is a little slow on my end. It looks like it's a little slow. Oh, wait, so what does no
Yep.
mean? You can hear me? Oh, I'm not freezing? If I'm freezing, put a one in the chat box. Oh, sounds good.
Sounds
Great,
good.
great, great. Wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. That's what we'll talk about. Girl power, okay?
Yes.
So, pretty much, I'll let you start because this is your, yes. Invite me into this thing here, honey.
Okay. So what we're going to talk about today is the importance of, I forgot how we worded, but dealing with yourself before you enter a relationship. And I like what you put as a hashtag. I reposted it. What did it say?
What, heal before you deal?
That right there. I like that. I like that. He'll be for you deal. I was just talking to my youngest daughter and she was like, what are you guys going to talk about? And I was like, he'll be for you deal. And her response jokingly was like, yeah, he'll be for you deal because don't nobody want you coming into a situation, bringing all that drama to them. And I was like, so we had a
That
couple of
is
things that you wanted to make sure we key point on. And my first thought was, do we even know that we need healing first and foremost?
ha 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 ha.
So that wasn't here, but as I'm thinking about what was just said, do we know? Have we accepted that there's some things within us that we may need to address before getting into a relationship? And I ask that because we're always taught, when you get to a certain age, you should be dating. When you're little, you're taught to tend to your house, to have children. But have it
Yeah.
ever been taught to us or brought to our attention to look at ourselves and evaluate how we are functioning before we start messing with folks?
I'm glad you said that because, from my perspective, we, first of all, growing up, we're usually taught to survive, right? It
Right.
depends upon the type of environment you grew up in,
Mm-hmm.
and and if you were made comfortable to share how you felt,
Right.
which created your attachment style and
Mm-hmm.
what you expect from people and how you show up in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times we are conditioned when something hurts us, we're disappointed, we feel rejected, emotionally abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes even when we're happy, that we got to keep it to ourselves. And so a
Okay.
lot of times when you go year after year, putting things on the back burner,
Yes.
repressing your emotions,
Mm-hmm.
taking blow after blow, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep going. Sometimes you don't have the luxury of stopping to say, let me catch my breath. That last situation really damaged me. The breakup really ruined my trust. That friendship betrayal was hard for me to overcome. We don't stop and take a moment to think about those things. We keep going. We replace our healing with relationships, things, work, the kids. So a lot
Busyness.
of
We just
times,
busy. Not
busyness,
productive all the time, but just busy. Those are
busy,
distractions.
busy, doing nothing.
Mm,
Avoiding the work is what we're doing. We're avoiding the work.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I agree. I believe it took I've said so many times to those that are familiar with me, it took me literally my health taking a turn for the worse for me that forced me to sit down. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't willingly sit down and say, "Hey, I need to deal with some things." Life happened to me because and I say that because I don't think a lot of people realize if you don't sit down and rest when you need to, life will help you figure that out.
Yes, it
And
will.
hopefully you're paying attention. So
Yes, it will.
I I think what you said is key. That plays a big part. But that goes back to our childhood. We were taught that it's not okay to rest. It's not okay to feel our feelings. It's not okay
Right.
to acknowledge that hurt me, that
Yeah.
set me back. You know what I mean? And we need to repair or work on that thing. And we can still work our regular job and be mothers and
Yeah.
tend to our homes while we're
Mm-hmm.
tending to ourselves. But somewhere along the line, we like the appearance of a thing than really
Mm.
being the thing. You know what I mean? And I don't know if we even on where we were supposed to be going, but this is how it's going.
Listen, the appearance. That's why sometimes we stay with a relationship or
Right?
situationship longer than we should because we're focused on the appearance. We don't want to
Yes.
feel like we failed.
Yes.
Especially for those who are married. You don't want to feel like you failed your children, your people who pay good money to come to the wedding or the reception. You don't want to feel like you
You
failed.
don't want to
And
feel like you've disappointed everybody. But why is our happiness based on how everyone else feels?
because that's how we are conditioned to please others, to perform. Like if you grew up
Mm.
in a household where you had to, where you learned to people please, that
Mm.
means that you had to perform in order to keep the peace,
Mm.
to keep mom happy, so nobody's
Yeah.
whooping your tail if you don't do something right. Like we've
Yeah.
learned that you have to do something to be loved. And
Mm.
that is the biggest misconception. And as adults, we have to unlearn these things that we've kind of inherited growing up in our families and our communities,
Yeah.
our cultural norms and things of that nature. A huge unlearning has to happen.
I think something that goes with what you said is we also unknowingly and knowingly in some cases have taught ourselves to endure hardship because like you just said, you would do this and do that to avoid this. So we are now enduring the abuse, whether it's verbal or physical in relationships because we're conditioned that this is something I signed up for. This is something that I did that caused it. And it really all goes back to our perception of life or our viewpoint of ourselves as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think that, you know, as women, we are trained from, you know, childhood, when we're playing with the doll houses,
Yes.
We're cooking, we're cleaning, we're a mommy or a grandma or auntie's helper. So we are raised to be nurturers, and some women are not. Okay, but we're not talking about that right now. We're not going to talk about that right now. So a lot of us are raised to be nurturers and to take care of everybody but ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
that's how we learn to have relationships. If he's having a bad day, that's our focus. If he has some disappointments or some struggles or burdens, that is our focus. We're the counselors, we're the therapists, we his accountant, we his doctor. We become everything to everybody but ourselves. And that's what I hope some women get, well, everybody gets from this discussion today, that we'll continue to have these challenges in having fruitful and healthy relationships the longer we put ourselves on the back burner, because you have to do the work within in order to
Yes.
even cultivate it and know what you want. And once you realize that you deserve what it is you're asking for, like you're asking for simple things from an adult, right? And so you have to be so secure within yourself to not have anyone manipulate you and make you think that you're asking for too much, and that because we're not committed right now, I don't have to give you that. And there's some rules to the game. There's some rules to the
Yeah.
game. That's partially true.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah, but
know
the
that.
simple things like communication, I don't care if we committed or not. Communication is key in all relationships, whether it's work, family, or friends. And that's something to me, I jumped into that because that's something big to me. I'm a big communicator. And if you
Yes,
can't communicate with me, there, how can you have a relationship? So
absolutely, absolutely,
I like that
absolutely,
statement.
absolutely. And you know what? Communication has been challenged with the rise of social media.
Mm.
We already have people who don't feel comfortable expressing themselves and being vulnerable with one another because, you fear the person's not going to respond the way you would like. And
Mhm.
maybe growing up, people did not meet your needs emotionally. So you already kind of guarded. You kind of got your guards up like, I don't know if I should communicate. Yes, she said communication is key.
Yes.
It is. But we are so afraid to really let the partner that doesn't mind dumping all his woes on you, but we are afraid to, unleash a little bit too. And it's not going to work that way, because then you're creating a one-sided relationship dynamic, and then you end up being exhausted while he done been refueled, recharged, refreshed.
That's so unhealthy.
Yeah, it's
So
unhealthy.
unhealthy.
It's unhealthy. Both parties have to be willing to communicate. Both parties.
So the one of the things that I wanted to speak about,
Hmm.
I think I'm gonna offend a little people here, and it's really all love, man. Whenever you look
Yeah.
at this, whoever look at this, I speak from my experience, and from what I've seen with friends and family member. I think the biggest problem with people, women, staying in relationships that are not fruitful, that are not going anywhere, is the fear of being alone. I think we need to come to a place and understand being alone does not mean being lonely. And there's nothing wrong with being alone and actually examine yourself, because, sweetheart, you're the common denominator. If every guy you done been with, well, it was him, and no, it's not always him or them. It's you. First and foremost, we're not neglecting what he did, but let's ask ourselves, why do we keep choosing the same type of men? Right? Because
How?
that's what we're doing. So
Yes.
I think when we understand, for me, because I've been single by choice for a while, and some people be like, "Oh, you're not married yet. You're not." Da, da, da. I know me, and if I'm honest, I know I'm not ready to be in a relationship because I would not be functioning properly. I can communicate. I can love on him to the best of my ability, cook, clean, and all that, but trust him to leave my house and provide for me and never cheat on me. I can't do that. And I say this because that's something I have to deal with within me because of past experiences. Now, if I move too fast and jump into something, I'm going to look at him sideways because I ain't dealt with my garbage yet. And that is why I'm big on self-love and self-accountability, because I can't blame the next man that come in my life if the truth of the matter is I ain't dealt with my own issues. He just came and joined the party, didn't know what he signed up for, because I look like I got it together, right?
Right.
I
Right,
would do that.
right. And I want to piggyback off of that because that is some great self-awareness that you have. And you, I mean, literally, you have to celebrate that because there's a lot of people who don't have that self-awareness, right? We keep
Mm.
entering into situationships that evolve into a relationship, and we have no business being in one because, like you said, you may still have some trust challenges from an old situation. The minute he don't return your call in an hour, you're gonna think, what is he doing? Right? And so that's how, and we don't realize, in all seriousness, we don't realize the more and more we continue to get into relationships that, and we're unhealed in certain areas,
It
you
continues to chip
are
at that thing.
you are continuing to rip off parts of that wound. Like the wound was probably this small. Now it's just spreading into this big old thing.
Mm.
And then no matter how good the guy is or how true he's trying to be to you, you can't even receive it.
Yes.
You can't receive it because the wound is too big now. You still think about what Fred did to you 2-3 years ago.
Girl, like
and
serious.
and know that,
Seriously.
and what I want ladies to take away from this, we are talking about commonalities, things we share amongst women. We're not
Mm-hmm.
saying that we have evolved in such a way that we don't still have to deal with things. She was just very
Exactly.
honest about why she is single. And my single story is very much the same because if you call wrong, I'm gonna look at you sideways. I still have to work on, and it's a daily work. It's a daily work,
It
and
is.
there's towards the end, there's three things that I want women to kind of you know, implement so that they can kind of help themselves
Mm-hmm.
on this journey of trying to have a better relationship with themselves and others.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I like that.
yeah,
I think one of the things I have wrote down is no change equals no change. So we stay in these situations without making the necessary changes.
yes,
Or if I'm already in a relationship and he's made it clear, example, I wanted a guy that didn't know how to communicate better.
yeah,
I don't like to text. I don't like to talk on the phone. And at the end of the day, you're refusing to change. So I had to make a decision since he's not willing to work with me. Because if we're in this together, it's a mutual thing. You
yeah,
can't be in a relationship and only one person doing. So I had to realize, okay, he ain't gonna do it. So we need to end this. And what he said to me in the end when we became cool and spoke, I said, well, if you knew you was kind of like checked out already,
mm-hmm.
why didn't you tell me? This man said, because I was waiting for you to make the decision. And it kind of broke my
Mm,
heart a little bit,
mm,
but I
mm.
could only be mad at myself because, again, he shown me the signs that he
Yes,
wasn't going to do what I was
yes,
asking, what I needed, what I required, because we must have a standard. Like, you must have had your non-negotiables when you're in a relationship. And so when he showed me, he said me in so many different ways, I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep working. I'm gonna keep working. We can figure this out. We can fix this.
yeah,
It wasn't a we no more. Like, hello, do you hear? Do you see the lack of support? And honestly, at the time in the situation, I didn't.
yeah,
Once the situation was over and we had that conversation, I was really mad. But I was like, well, damn, he showed you. He told you. I don't like the text. I don't like the talk. And communication is important for you. So why were you
right.
trying so hard to change something that the person didn't want to do? We do that a lot. We
Um,
do that a lot.
we do that all the time.
Mm.
Definitely, sometimes we struggle to call a thing
Mm.
because we get attached to the outcome that we're trying to create, not realizing that's a grown individual, whether it's a man or a woman. You don't have the right to change a person. None of
Not
us
at
do.
all.
And
Right.
that's something I had to come to terms with. No matter how much talking, consoling, screwing, cooking, whatever it is you think you can do for him, you can
Yes.
suck his toes if you like, ladies. If he
It
is
ain't.
not willing to change something for himself, he's just not going to do it. Men change when they want to or they have a consequence. And that's just that.
But then
And
that goes to that part. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, no, go ahead.
I think that goes to the part that we expect a man to change, but we ain't given. If they see that we're gonna tolerate X, Y, and Z, why would
Exactly.
they
What does he
change?
change it for? Why? Why?
Right.
You know,
So
it's
I think, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I think I'm so irritated with myself a little bit because that really just goes back to the first and foremost thing I always say in my coaching group is acceptance. You have to
yes,
accept, as you said, call a thing a thing. Stop making it be what you, as you said, what you want it to be, or what you want it to appear to be, what you hope it to be, what you know it can be, because it could
yeah,
be good if
yeah,
everyone is involved on the same path and plan. And if they're not, let that thing go because you're wasting your time.
yes. And that's something I had to learn myself, and still kind of learning that when a man says something, you better believe him. If he tells you he's not ready for a commitment,
Mm.
if you care about him or if you notice you have feelings for him, you're going to have to reduce having sex with him. You're going to have to reduce sitting on the phone and trying to be in his presence. You're going to have to reduce it
Mm.
because at that point you have to protect yourself.
Right.
And I know that I was on this thing where I'm like, I'm in control of my emotions. As long as I don't see him on a regular basis, I'm going to be good to go. I'm not going to have any feelings for him. I got this. We're friends with benefits. No worries, because I don't want to be in a commitment with you either. Lies, lies, lies. you know,
Yeah.
until you find out, yeah, he don't mind being in a committed relationship, just not with you, Wendy. It's a
Woo-hoo.
hard truth. It's a hard truth. And
Mm.
yeah, it hurt me only because I had to realize, one, I already knew that. Two, I had to come to terms with the fact that I held on to a situation because of the years that I invested into it,
Mm-hmm.
not because it was fruitful, not because he was adding to me, not because God told me that this is my husband, but because I really wanted something to change, because he was giving me all those promises, leaving me on promised land. And it's like
Mm.
every time things were going well, it's like we took 10 steps back. I'm like, you can't do right past 60 or 90 days, can you?
Wow.
So it
But
was a pattern. And the
yeah.
only reason why he was able to get away with that is because I had to realize I had my own commitment challenges,
Mm.
and I would say that because I knew in my heart of hearts that this was not going to evolve, I entertained it, letting my ego tell me it's going to change. At some point,
Wow.
I wasn't aware that I was doing that,
Mm-hmm.
but the saying, let go or be dragged. I've had 1,000 signs to say let go, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not even holding on that much. I give him space. I have space. I would just
That
know I was
ego.
dragged, and that's why I can speak about this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But at least you're honest. Like you said, you
yeah,
are. I mean, but see, and that's the thing when we look back. So my thing is, to me, we all have the answers within ourselves. We
yes,
know the right thing to do,
yes,
but we allow our feelings and emotions to rule us, which will lead us from the opposite direction in which we need to go.
yeah,
Which is why I think being in tune and very self aware of what your triggers are, what your insecurities are, what your non negotiables are, being on point with those things will
yeah,
eliminate a lot of things, along with
yes,
having some boundaries. To me, I think it also goes back to having value for yourself.
yes,
When I met one guy, grew up together, and he's like, "Oh, well, it's just, we can't have sex." No, we can't have sex because if I'm honest, first and foremost, I'm not just gonna be sleeping with anybody if we're not about to be together. Second and
yeah,
foremost, that is something that is a connection to me. So
yeah,
why am I going with and I understand everybody is different because in my younger days we may say I could have had somebody did the thing and wasn't madly in love.
right,
But now I'm not in that space, that mind frame at all. We're not moving to a goal that
yeah,
is a future. What am I about to lay with you for?
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And so I wanted to, let me just say this. I think that's something that women have to get a little more serious about. And I get it, ladies. Can nobody tell you what to do with your cat
Right, right.
or
I
your
get it.
cookie? We not. I'm not trying to do that, and neither
Nope.
is she. Right?
Right.
But it's kind of like, why buy the cow if you're getting the milk for free? And it's like, you know, if you're available sexually all the time for a man who's not adjusting when you communicating what it is that you want, if he's not, especially if he's not trying to commit, why is he getting the benefits? You know what I'm saying?
Cause I got that wop. You know
Girl,
what I mean?
look, girl, please. Every
You
woman
know,
out here, yeah, every woman
people
out here
think that.
thinks, yeah, every woman out here thinks she has the WAP and she has glitter and fireworks shooting from her vagina, and every man is gonna get in line once she put the WAP on him. Lady, stop
Listen,
lying to yourself. Please stop lying to yourself. Okay, that's how we stay entangled and caught up in soul ties, because we think we got the best thing popping. And if sex is the only thing that you think is going to keep him in line, you are already lost. You have
breaking our
already
own
lost.
hearts.
Because know that there's a woman freakier than you. Okay? So sex can't be the only thing that you are that confident in that's going to pull him in line, because that's very temporary.
Absolutely.
It just is. And
Unfortunately, with the social media and the music industry, they promote that so much that our younger generation think, you know, that's all I gotta do is sleep with him, give him a little head or whatever, or he can have several other chicks and it's fine because he always coming home to me. I mean, it's so many things that affects why we function the way that we do,
yes.
that we have to be intentional with what we listening to, what we watch, and we need to remove certain stigmas or things that was embedded in us from childhood. I remember my grandmother used to say, well, long as he take care of home, it didn't matter when my ex-husband was cheating. And I didn't quite understand that then, you know, but I subscribed to it. This is, you know what I mean? Grandmother raised me, grandmother got it home. I
Yes.
never knew nothing bad that happened. But and as much as I love grandma, no.
Yeah.
No. I
Yes.
had to do some soul searching and ask myself, why was I, as someone just said, you have to know your worth, as we've said many times, your
Yes.
value. I did not have that. I
Right.
did not know who I was. I did not love me. That was something else I wanted to speak on. We want this love from people. We want them to love us a certain way, but do we
Mm.
know how to love ourselves that way? You can't
Yes.
expect something from someone else that you can't give to yourself.
Woo!
Oh.
There it is. It has to begin within, right?
Mm.
But we have to cultivate it. We have to learn it. We have to unlearn some things, because we have to really sit and think about what messages did we learn about love within our family,
Mm-hmm.
within our culture and our community. What did you learn about what to expect from a relationship? Because there are a lot of grown women who are educated, who are smart, take care of their children well. They, you know, they do what they have to do, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when you hear them say, well, as long as he comes home to me, I don't care what he do. It's like, words are powerful. Do you
Yes.
understand what you are saying?
Yes.
You are creating a situation where he's never going to change, because you are
Already.
reinforcing with the words that are coming out of your mouth that he can do whatever he wants to. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
As long as he come home and as long as he pay these bills, he can do whatever he wants to. So don't get mad when your girlfriend tell you, oh, I saw him cheating again. Because usually what they do is get mad at their friends. Okay? Don't get mad at your girlfriend. You already know what you told him and what you said. You don't care what he does as long as he comes home to you. So, girl, go ahead and take that embarrassment with a smile and go on down the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just get so shocked about women who boast about that. And I think that that comes from some of the old school teaching,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we've gotten from women in our families. Even opposing that, the thing that I know I've learned, have everything on your own so that you never have to depend on a man.
Right.
Even that is a little toxic, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's never
Absolutely.
ending cycles. Even that has to be adjusted, because we have that strong independent women syndrome, right?
Yeah.
And so what we do is, the minute a man disappoints us or hurts us, you think about the time your daddy disappointed and hurt you. So what you do is you throw it in his face. I have everything on my own. I don't need you. You can't do
Come on
anything
now.
for me. how is a man going to even want to make a change for a woman who's talking down to him like that? You're breaking his spirit. You're emasculating him because of your career, because of the material things that you have. I don't care how many degrees you have, how big your house is, and how nice your car is. It is not going to keep you warm at night when it comes to a relationship and having a healthy relationship.
Right.
And so, although we've learned that, you know, and I do think that women need to have their own, because you just never know what will happen. But also, it shouldn't be your armor to throw in a man's face about what he can and cannot do for you.
Right.
Now, I will say,
I mean,
some men do make you want to remind them, though. Some of them, sometimes, you got to give them.
I'm not gonna lie and say I don't know none, because yeah, my ex-husband did that when I didn't work. However, I'm all big on healthy, everything being healthy, because I have to look at how he was raised and how I was raised. The difference, though, I will say, and then what I do for me is I think of the good, decent men that I do know. My grandfather, who was not my grandfather, but married my grandmother when my mother was 13, raised her 4 children, and all us. I didn't know he wasn't my grandfather until my oldest child was 19.
Okay.
And I was like, what do you mean it's not my grandfather? But I never heard them argue about how she took care of the house. She took care of the house. She didn't work. She didn't know how to drive or any of that. He paid all the bills, but they worked together. And I don't understand. People want to jump in these relationships, but they don't know how to give and take healthy wise.
Yeah.
They do, like you just said, we want to argue and we want to belittle our man. How can he be your king, your bae, your God, and you telling him that he ain't ish and he ain't that and he couldn't pay that bill? And even if he couldn't pay that bill, you chose that man. You chose those situations that came with him. So y'all work that thing out in the privacy of your home now. So, but we not gonna go there, because that's not where we supposed to go. And I know everyone isn't gonna be in agreement, and that's fine, because to each his own for you and your household. But at the end of the day, the hope and the thought is to understand, to love yourself, to be so in love with yourself that when someone sees you, they're going to compliment you and you're going to compliment them. Y'all not going to be battling and putting on an appearance or a show to say you have someone, because that's the era that we in right now.
Yes, absolutely. And so with that, yes, you can choose that man. You chose that man. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and that's part of the anger. We mad at ourselves for choosing that man. The man who's inconsistent, you know, the man who, you know, is a little sneaky, you know, he has some trust issues. Like we chose the man.
But that's part of the problem. We don't know how to choose a proper man.
But you know what? I don't know if there's a proper man, but I do think that the more you work on yourself and get to know yourself, you'll be able to choose a suitable partner, someone who aligns with where you're going. You know what I'm saying? Someone who's a good fit for you, versus it's all about his looks and what kind of car he drives and my attraction to him. Like, for instance, I'm attracted to dark-skinned men with beards. I don't need to go anywhere near one. Period. I don't need to go near one, I'm telling you. Dark skin with the beard.
I guess we gonna have a conversation later.
Yeah, I don't need to look their way. I just need to go. I'm crossing the street. Yes, get to know yourself. Listen, I don't want no parts of one. I need to just leave it alone. So, and that's about knowing. And that's the thing. You have to know your weakness. You have to know that very thing that's going to make you step outside of your boundaries and the things you've been working on.
Right.
So, like, for instance, yesterday night, I said, let me play some R&B jams. And I just put it on YouTube, like YouTube Play. And so I listened to some Drew Hill. And then Tony Braxton, Secrets, Find Me a Man, How Many Ways, like all these different songs. I said, the devil is a liar. I said, I'm turning this off right now, because you're not about to have me in those states thinking about the love we used to have. No. So women, you have to be cognizant of where you are, and sometimes those things can trigger, make you say, I wonder what he doing.
I got them issues. I don't want to know what he doing.
But what I'm saying is that that music and the feeling, like I was minding my
Absolutely.
business. I was having a good time. I was straightening up while the music was playing before I turned off all the lights and went in my room. And I was just like, oh, no, 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 no. This is too many
It
sad
it
love songs.
it brings up all those feelings and thoughts.
Yes.
I get it. But
Yeah.
see, the difference is because I know I don't want no dealings.
Yeah.
It ain't taking me there.
Yeah. Yeah. Tony
So
Braxton will do it every time. Tony Braxton, Drew Hill, Babyface. Don't do it, ladies. And Whitney Houston will make you call somebody, curse them out now.
yeah, I'm more
Don't
there.
do it. Yeah, don't do
I'm
it.
more ready to let you know what you did, but I'm also at a place where instead of worrying about, everyone wants to tell everyone what to do and how to do it. This is what you need to
Yes.
do. I'm not in that space.
Yeah.
I'll share with you my experiences and my
Yes.
perspective, but you have to learn on your own.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There's not the best way to learn in life is through experience. Sometimes it's better to learn through somebody else's, but if you got a hard
Absolutely.
head, then
Absolutely.
so be it.
Absolutely. Yeah, like definitely adults are going to do what they want to do, right? And so we're just offering a different perspective, things that has worked for us and others that we know of, women that I have worked with professionally and in my personal life, who go through a lot of emotional challenges with their relationships. And the thing is, the reason why I like to encourage and esteem women is because I know that we carry the bulk of the burden for our
Yes.
families, for everything in our life, right? And I see so many women, even those who have their own business and they still have a career, you still find areas where they're neglecting themselves.
Mm.
And so I just want to encourage women to know that you are not what you do.
Mm.
You are more than your relationship status. And you have to carve out time to learn yourself.
Mm.
And when you learn yourself, that is going to increase your knowledge and awareness of yourself, your triggers, what you want, and what patterns of behaviors are showing up that are causing repeated challenges in your relationships. Because a lot of times I hear women say, I'm attracting the same kind of guy in a different body. And
And you are.
yeah, because you're the common denominator, you know?
Okay.
And so, with that said, this is about encouraging women, just offering them a different way to look at it, to say, hey, maybe I do want to look at myself, not judge yourself or beat yourself up about anything,
Absolutely.
because we're all still learning, we're all evolving.
Yes.
But I just want women to be more aware of how we're showing up. And
Right.
if I could, I wrote down like 3, 4 things that I think continues to be a challenge area. I think we've already pretty much mentioned them, but I just want to say it so that they can hear it. These are just things that I wrote down, and I'll say them really quickly. Some common areas that we struggle with as women. Not everybody, some worse than others. I wrote down our attitudes. We have to be aware of how we're showing up, the energy that we're bringing to the room,
Mm-hmm.
whether that energy is us being guarded, us having trust issues. Some of us feel entitled because I
Mm.
look fabulous or I have a nice
Mm.
car and all these things. I deserve the man with the 6 figures and this, that, and the third. Girl, yeah. So,
Calm down.
yeah. And so, and also with the attitudes, we can be very prideful, very stubborn. We don't want to apologize when we're wrong. We don't want to apologize to our man, our girlfriends, our family. We hold on to everybody's done me wrong, right? That's where the pride comes in at. Pride blocks you from learning and reflecting on what you're bringing to the situation.
Yeah.
Also, I wrote down excessive masculine energy. Okay. So I think that comes from, like I said, the independent woman syndrome. It also stems from not having a safe and consistent parental figure.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you had that, you would not have to show up more masculine than you need to.
Mm.
And sometimes our mothers and the women around us make us harder than we need to be. And
Oh
that's
Lord,
just
that's a
that.
whole nother
That's a
conversation.
whole nother conversation. So you have to be aware of that energy that you're bringing to a relationship. Also, I talked about, well, we already touched on the independent woman thing. I think that goes back into the attitude. Be careful of that. No man is trying to hear how much you don't need him. If you don't need him, he's not going to stay around. And that's just that. And the
I think that's
last,
a defense mechanism. I think people
it's a
say and do
defense
that.
mechanism for sure.
Yeah, you know what I
For
mean?
sure. That's what I said. Whenever we're disappointed with a man, the first thing we let them know, I don't need you anyway. That is a defense mechanism, and that is a coping strategy, a negative coping strategy.
Yes, yes.
Because there's nothing positive about that. Nothing
At all.
positive about that. And the last thing I had is unforgiveness. Ladies, we have to do the hard work. We have to do the hard work. Um, there's some things that you just cannot be mad about forever in a day. There's some things you're going to have to get a sheet of paper, write it out on the paper, rip it up, set it on fire if you need to release that tension, release the story, stop making everybody wrong, and including yourself. The
Exactly.
person we need to forgive the most sometimes is ourselves.
Yes.
So you see that? So it's not just your intimate relationships, right?
Yeah.
This is anything. Sometimes mothers and fathers need to forgive themselves for what their kids have experienced and what their kids are seeing, or the fact that they're repeating patterns that are not healthy that they learned through their childhood. So you have to forgive yourself for a number of things so that you don't bring that into, your relationships. And
Yeah.
so those are the
I
things I
like
want
that.
women to kind of focus on.
Absolutely. I think if we also are honest with ourselves, well, first and foremost, we need to be honest with ourselves and realize that we get in relationships and we can get triggered by things that happen. The person can do something, and the trigger and the anger and the emotions aren't really necessarily what he did. And the reason I'm saying this is because, as you said, forgiveness. I had to forgive my dad. I
Yeah.
could not trust men because of my dad. I
Yeah.
felt like all men weren't ish because of my dad, because he never was there. He never showed me what a man was supposed to be. And he always made so many broken promises. So when another man would come and do it, I'm like, see,
Yep. Yep.
oh, you the angry black woman. I'm not the angry black woman. I was the broken little girl
Yeah.
that just needed my dad to make things right. And I had to forgive him without an apology. And I had
That
to
is
show him
it.
grace to understand for myself that he didn't know how to be a dad.
Yeah.
So I'm walking around with all this anger at a man that did not know how to give me what I needed. And now I had to learn and view other men that were positive in my life. For example, the grandfather that wasn't my grandfather. And then let that be my view of men. Let that be
Yeah.
the standard of the man that I am looking
Yeah.
for. I
Yeah.
still made some mistakes. But however, you
Yeah.
can never say that you don't know, because you
Yeah.
know you are choosing the pattern because it's comfortable, it's familiar, and we
Familiar.
have to change the narrative if
Yes.
we want healthy relationships.
Yes. Absolutely. Look at that self-awareness, girl.
Okay. I look, I'm ready for the next level. I keep telling myself, and I think that's how we got to this, and I believe this will be part of the healing process for
Yes.
me, because I didn't talk about it. People didn't understand why I wouldn't speak on relationships, and it was because I'm still hurting, I'm still
Yeah.
disappointed, but I love my black men.
Yes.
I have a black son who
Mm.
my hope was I need him to be a good man because I needed to see a good man. But
Yeah.
instead of focusing on all the bad that has happened with men in my life, I'm very appreciative of the many brothers that have come along and shown me what a good man is.
Yes.
Man, so y'all better watch out. Pay me no mind. But
That
seriously,
is
it
awesome.
starts in your mind. And I have to renew my mind and say, it's not all men, because I wouldn't want a man to say all women ain't good and view me as not good because of what one woman did or 10,000 women did, because I'm not them. So we have
Yeah.
to intentionally every day work on our thoughts and our behaviors.
That's it. We have to be intentional. Because if you're not intentional, then what are you doing?
I don't know.
spinning your wheels, entertain, because you're not responsible for what we attract, right? That's my perspective. We're not responsible for what we attract, but you are responsible for what you entertain. You are
That part.
responsible for what you continue to allow to disturb your peace.
I will say to some degree, I know some people say you attract, like what energy you put out is going to what you attract. And I will say if we aren't careful, women with low self-esteem, you are attracting certain men for you
That's
because they
true.
see it, they sense it, they feel it.
True.
And but if you hear, like I got me. If ain't nobody got me, I got me.
Mm-hmm.
If I got me, you can't come and pull a wool over my eyes anymore. But it took a
Yeah.
long time to get there. It took a
Right.
lot of tears, a lot of crying, and a lot of self-awareness that I didn't want to do. I have moments where I say, yo, I'm not dealing with this today.
Right.
I'm gonna leave that trauma there. But if I want to get to a better place, I gotta pick at that thing every day. And I think if
Every
we
day.
start having conversations, if we find people like yourself that we can trust, that we know a safe space, as you said earlier, and just begin to do the work,
Mm-hmm.
man, life is gonna be good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you talk about doing the work, I want people to get a visual really quickly on what it means to do the work. Like I gave the example of sometimes you have to write out your feelings, right? Write
Mm-hmm.
out your emotions, write a forgiveness letter to yourself. And I also have another letter that I'll share some other time. But
Okay.
I heard one lady for her group, she has a Dear MFer letter. Okay. And
Okay.
pretty much she writes out everything that comes up that went on from her tumultuous marriage. She releases it. It's cathartic. You put it all
Mm-hmm.
on the paper. It's not for him to receive or read it.
Exactly. Nope.
You're letting out whatever energy that is that came up to frustrate you, to make you feel like you're less than, or whatever happened. You put it on the paper, get it out of you, and you rip it up into tiny shreds. And like I said, if you want to set it on fire, set it on fire, because I
I
set it
like
on fire.
fire. Yeah, me too.
Okay. All right. And
I would
also,
add to that list though your mother.
huh?
I would add to the list any and everybody that you need to release that you're holding on to that have
Everybody.
hurt you.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. And it starts from the top should be your parents. Period. And I think people overlook that so much because of our loyalty to mothers. We talk about a pastor, we'll talk about the president, we'll talk about relatives who are helping raise our children before we actually challenge how we were raised, and things that were not healthy and things that were dysfunctional that we have to learn a new way now, right? And I want people to know you're not bashing or
Yes.
going against your parents. You're just looking at the what you've learned that has not helped you cultivate healthy, loving relationships in your life. And I think that's a whole long process, but I'll continue to educate you guys on how to do that. But it
I was
takes a
gonna.
long time because you have to choose that you want to heal. You have to
Mm,
choose to stop making people wrong. Stop making people wrong,
yeah.
because we're not perfect. We're not
But
perfect at
I think
all.
we also need to remember that it is from our viewpoint. You know what I mean?
That's it.
Like I don't believe that my grandmother intentionally taught me wrong things. She taught me
Yes.
from her best place. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And how I
Yes.
viewed it looking back, I'm like, man, but
Yeah. Yeah.
out of love, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, she did the best that she could with what she had. That does not exclude. A lot of people don't like to use that because they feel like, well, you're not holding them accountable. First and foremost, the only person I'm trying to hold accountable first is me, because I
Yeah.
gotta live this life right here, and I can't
Mm-hmm.
keep holding on to what everybody else done
Mm-hmm.
and expect to live my life. So I start with me by viewing that, okay, this is what she did. That wasn't the best. I have every right to change it. The way I
Yes.
raised my children was what I thought was best, not how I literally did not raise them how I was raised.
Yeah. That's
And if
good.
I go with what you said, I had to sit down with them and apologize, because though I thought I was making all the right decisions in
Mm.
raising them, some things I did, they was kind of like, well, I didn't like this, and this made me feel this way, or this hurt me. And I'm like, huh? But I was trying to protect you.
Yeah.
But that's not how they viewed it. And they
Yeah.
didn't know why I moved the way that I did. And I knew
Yeah.
it was from my childhood. But all these things play a part in how we are and in how we show up in our life with our relationships.
Yes. And people will deny it, oh, I had the perfect relationship, with my parents or in my household. And I'm like, you're one of the most hateful, mean-spirited
Hmm.
people ever. And you're telling me that that just came from out the blue sky? I don't think so. I don't think so, honey.
A
So
lot of
people
people
have
are
to,
delusional.
yes, people have to choose to do something different. We're not saying what you're doing is wrong. It's about
Hmm.
shifting your perspective. If the way you're handling your friendships, your intimate partner relationships, and your relationships with your family, friends, and whoever else, if it's working for you, continue to do it
By
that
all
way.
means.
If
Hmm.
it's not, recognize that you are the common denominator and you have to choose to do it differently if you want to cultivate and create a more fruitful and healthy reciprocal relationship. Period.
And understand that you're worth that. Understand that you're
Yeah.
worth a healthy relationship, which will help you on the journey of healing, which is not always easy, but it's a must.
Yes. 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 It's definitely that. And ladies, again, as we wrap up, I just want to say that again, it's important to know who you are, and a way to learn who you are is to figure out what it is that you really want, and not just from a relationship. What do you want from your life,
Yes.
from your career? What is your gift? What is your talent? What is your purpose?
Yes.
What were you created to do? I think once we start to focus on that, we won't be so caught up and consumed with the soul ties and these relationship challenges.
Right.
We have to know who we are and what we want. And that way, when you know what you want, which I think is always changing, depending upon who you are and where you are with things, um, that way, when you ask for it and you don't receive it, you know that you're gonna have to.
Hey.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna cut that quicker than you normally would, right? When you don't receive it, because you value yourself and the work you've put in to adjust and change some things. So you know that when you're not being honored, you're like, you know what? I respect that. I'm not taking it personal. I
Yes.
wish I wish you all the best. I'm out of here.
Like it don't have to be no beef, it's no
No
bad
beef.
blood.
No
It's the
beef.
same way as if you have a job and they not paying you what you know you deserve. You're gonna be looking for another job while you still working that one, unfortunately, because that's a job. You're gonna work that and look for another one. So if you're in a
Yes.
situation that you know you shouldn't be in, don't stay because it chips at your confidence. It breaks you down. It
Girl, I'm
makes you
about to
feel
run.
less
I'm about to start
than.
running. I'm about to start running.
so yeah. But I think we touched on many of the things. We touched on a lot, and at the end of the day, it's all love. It's we
Yes.
I want for my sisters what I want for myself, which is wholeness, healthy relationships,
Yes.
peace of mind. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like you deserve nothing but the best.
The
But
best.
you gotta believe that first. People only gonna treat you the way you let them treat you.
Period. That's family, friends, intimate partner, your spouse.
Indeed.
You set the boundaries for how they're going to treat you. Oh, and
Yes.
also I forgot to say, and
Mm.
another tool you can use as you're working on yourself and creating these healthy relationships, set firm boundaries. Make sure they're
Absolutely.
clear. Make sure you're communicating them well. And when I say firm boundaries, I was a person who, if we're doing good, I forget about the thing that I talked to you about. So then when you
Mm.
violate my boundaries or you disrespect me again, I'm like, dang, but I thought we talked about that already. But Wendy, it wasn't firm. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Just because you're cool with somebody, they still don't have the right to be rude or disrespectful to you. And
Right.
so my boundaries were shaky. you
Well, yeah,
know,
and we have to keep in mind that people don't understand boundaries for real. That's
well,
not something that's normal to people.
it's
Because
not normal. And guess what? Once I share with you, you don't get to talk to me that way because it makes me feel like XYZ. please don't do whatever it is that I'm talking to you about. You have a choice. Either you can, honor it. And if you cannot, that's fine. I wish you the best, but I'm going to separate myself so that you don't continue to break my spirit, because I care about you that much that what you're doing clearly bothers me. And you have to do that to some jobs. You have to do that, there's things I would used to talk to a supervisor about. Some things need to adjust. And it just was not adjusting. So I had to make the adjustment, And
Yeah.
you got to do that with
It's like
friends or
you
whatever.
said, you just got to stay consistent. You have to stay consistent with people because they're going to try you. You
Period.
sure, girl? I was just
Period.
joking. Yeah, you was joking, but I'm sorry. This is just not working anymore. And it's not
Yes.
that I don't love you. I
Right.
love me. I love me.
Yes.
And I'm not going to do anything that is going to cause me unhappiness.
Yes. Yes. Right. And that's the
So,
bottom line. It's not that I don't love you, but I love me a little bit more now. So I'm going to go ahead and just back
yeah,
away from the situation.
I appreciate this. Thank you so
Yes.
much for us having this conversation. I hope that is
Absolutely.
helpful in any kind of way. And just remember, we all on this journey of self-love, self-healing,
Together.
self-awareness. Some of us didn't get this stuff growing up. So that
Yes.
don't mean that we don't get it now.
Thank you. Thank you. This was
Uh,
fun, guys. Anybody have any questions real quick? We got like 5 minutes. Any questions, comments, concerns? I see, yes, it starts in the household. Let me see if there's any other. Somebody said I haven't thought about it like that. Yes, your attitude is important. Gotta humble yourself and be accountable.
that's what I was
Woo!
thinking. I think that's the big thing. Is not a lot
Woo!
of humility going around or anywhere. Everybody, because I'm a bad. Sit down, calm down, calm down.
Yes, honey. Yes. But no, this was really great. And guys, we are considering doing a part 2. Please send any questions, comments, or thoughts you have to us in our DMs. She is located on IG as _ the growth project, right?
Indeed, because
I
we
got
always
that.
growing.
Yes, and I am Wendism 101. And if you just type in Wendy Wisdom, you'll find me. It doesn't matter. And so, again, guys, thank you for taking time out of your evening to join us. And we both do things individually. And as you can see, we are Black queens who are willing to work together. And so I'm sure you'll see some
Indeed.
more from us in the future.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night, y'all. Bye, Tashulia.
See you soon.
See ya. Bye, y'all. Thank you.